Hi, I'm Ashton Lewis, Technical Product Manager with RahrBSG, here to talk about Biofine Clear. Biofine Clear is a liquid silicic acid preparation that was originally developed as a chill-proofing agent for beer, but in recent years, brewers figured out that it actually works better to remove yeast than it does as a chill-proof. So today, Biofine Clear has largely replaced isinglass. In fact, our customer base has almost completely stopped using isinglass and now use Biofine Clear for yeast removal. Now, it's really used for two different things. One is to clarify beer on its own, which is how it's typically used, but you can also use Biofine Clear to knock out yeast before centrifugation or depth filtration using DE. Now, the key thing is, what is it and how do you use it? So what is the product? It's a liquid preparation of silicic acid, and the silicic acid will bind with some of the chill protein in beer, and it also pulls down yeast like a net as it falls down through the tank. So that's how it works. It's similar to other findings. How is it used? Well, typically it's used by adding the silicic acid or the Biofine Clear to beer through the top of the tank if you're in a fermenter, or you can add it to the racking arm or the sample valve. And that's added before the beer is transferred to the bright beer tank. The other method is inline injection, and that's really the preferred method, but we'll get back to that in a second. So if you're going to add it to the beer, what you really want to do, first of all, is remove as much yeast from the beer before addition. And that's true of any of the types of injection methods that are used. So to remove the yeast, you're going to let the yeast flocculate to the bottom of the cone of the fermenter, harvest your yeast as normal, blow that cone out, and then the next thing that's very, very important is getting the beer as cold as possible before addition. Getting the beer cold causes the chill haze in the beer to form, so we have maximum amount of chill haze that's in the beer before the Biofine Clear is added, because that Biofine Clear is going to help remove the chill haze as it does its thing. Okay, so that's the preparation portion. Now, as far as adding it, if you add it to the top of the tank or through the sample valve or the racking arm, we need to mix the beer with the Biofine Clear. The most common method of mixing is with gas rousing. And gas rousing is a very effective method of mixing, but the key thing with gas rousing is that we want to mix the entire tank, which means the best place to inject your CO2 or nitrogen, depending on what gas you're using, is to add the gas to the very bottom of the vessel so that we have maximum movement of gas bubbles up through the beer to mix the vessel. Another method of mixing is to use a pump and do a pumped recirculation to mix the contents of the tank with the Biofine Clear. So those are the two methods that are used. If you're going to do it as an in-tank process, allow the Biofine Clear to clarify the beer and then rack it after 24 to 48 hours is a typical time for the clarification. Now, the other method, which really is the preferred method and a method that most breweries don't use because most brewers don't rack beer anymore, but if you do rack beer, if you're moving from a fermenter to a bright beer tank or fermenter to a lagering tank, the best way to inject the Biofine Clear is in line during the transfer. The two things you need to have handy to be able to do this properly is knowing how long the transfer is going to occur, how much of the Biofine Clear to use, which you know because you've got to calculate the dosing, and then you need to have a way of metering that Biofine Clear in line during the tank transfer. That typically involves either a dosing pump or some type of control valve so that you can dose the Biofine Clear during the entire transfer process. So that's kind of the how portion. Now, there are a couple really, really important things with Biofine Clear. Perhaps the most important, next to getting the yeast out of the tank and chilling it, is the amount of Biofine Clear to use. Now, the typical dosing rate is 200 to 2,000 parts per million, or 200 to 2,000 milligrams per liter of Biofine Clear. But the real answer to the question of dosing is you really need to do a dosing trial or an optimization trial. And the reason that an optimization trial is so important for all findings is that the amount of finding depends on the type of beer you're brewing. So if you're a production brewery, that would be a brand specific addition, or if you're a taproom brewery, that would be kind of a product type dosing. And the reason that is so critical is you need to know the type of beer, the specifics on it, the original gravity, the hopping rate, even the yeast strain is going to have an effect on that. And then the other thing that is really critical is the crop year of the barley that's used. So every year when we come up with a new crop year that flows to the malt house and you're having malt that's produced from a different crop year of barley, you need to redo your optimization. So at a minimum, we recommend optimization trials annually with new crop year, and that optimization should not only be annually on the crop year, it should be annually by beer type or beer brand. So that's really, really an important part of the process that really can't overemphasize. The last thing to know about Biofine Clear is how to store it. This is one of those products where you definitely do not want to freeze Biofine Clear. If it's frozen, it will damage the product. So the recommended storage temperature is 5 to 20 degrees Celsius or 41 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, if you do freeze Biofine Clear, and you may not know it, there is a visual tell. You're going to have white crystals that form in the product, and those will settle to the bottom. So if you ever notice that your Biofine Clear has gone from clear to not clear, that's a pretty good sign that it's been frozen. Now, as far as we're concerned, we do a very good job about not shipping this when it's really cold during the wintertime. So there are times during the year where we do not ship Biofine Clear for that particular reason. If you have other questions about this product or anything else that we carry at RahrBSG, remember to reach out to your sales manager, your customer service rep, or me, Ashton Lewis, directly. That's all I wanted to say today about Biofine Clear. Cheers.